Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Construction Complete, a show all about Super Mario Maker 2. My name is Killjoy, and I'm back today talking about Super Mario Bros. 3 Remix, the sort of remixed version of Super Mario Bros. 3 that I am working on and going through every level and trying to do like a remix version of that. We've got 2-2 today. And as you're going to see, it doesn't look like a desert level, but that is because of a specific mechanic that I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, like always, this is all about me trying to sort of do those remix versions of those older levels. They're not necessarily one-to-one. They're meant to be heavily inspired by, but they're not meant to be exactly the same. And as like per usual, I'll play through the level, we'll talk about the level, kind of give you some thoughts on what I did, and then critique it, and then play through it again at the end. Alright, so, without further ado, let's get cracking.
Here we go!
Now yes, so this is not a desert level, but it is meant to emulate a desert level because I needed some water, and unfortunately you can't do the water sections in any other level except for this one. So I had to make it a jungle level, but luckily it doesn't look that jungly in Super Mario Bros. 3, so, oh whoops. So I can kind of get away with it, because yeah, this doesn't look like a jungle to me, so I'm kind of okay with that. And as you can see, it is based on 2-2, where you are going along on a platform, which on that version isn't on rails, and we've got the Cheep Cheep in the water. Nice. Actually really enjoyed making this level, so let's go over it. Also, again, builder music for this. Love it. Anyway, so the original level has quicksand in it, and it has like pools of water. Well, I can't do quicksand, and I can't do pools of water, unfortunately. So the next best thing to do was to use the jungle theme and use a water level that rises and falls, so that it kind of gives me kind of what I want. So it starts off similar to the original. You got the ramp. You've got a couple of Goombas. You've got red pipes so that the piranha plant's coming in and out quite quickly. But you also see that there's, again, nothing too crazy. Like, you can see these Goombas miles away, and you'll see that the water level only comes up to that height. So as long as you're not too low down, you're kind of okay. But yeah, so we start off the level with a couple of Goombas, a couple of ramps, similar to 1-2. Oh my god. Doing it again.
Here we go!
Fairly easy. Now we have the red pipes with the piranhas in it because I wanted them to be a threat, because it's fairly easy to get over
Here we go.
these pipes if you do this. Like, not much of a threat. However,
here we go!
cool. If you watch the angle at which the fireball travels, it is in a weird one and will catch you out, but you can see how fast they come up and down. But they're fairly easy to get over. Followed up by another ramp and another Goomba, so nothing too crazy. Slow the player down, give them a mushroom. So I'm trying to get this is that challenge thing. It's like, hey, give the player an obstacle now, and then the power up. In this case, you've got to deal with the water rising, a couple of Goombas, and a pipe with a piranha plant in going up and down fairly quickly. To counteract that, I give you plenty of time to see the Goombas, and then when it comes to the piranha plant in the red pipe going up and down, you can jump over this piranha plant real easy. You've got so much time, and even if you don't do that kind of jump, even if you walk at it,
here we go!
because you're on a ramp, you can get a bit of a boost. Let's see, even if I get to there, I get a little bit of a boost. So getting over that pipe isn't that difficult. Obviously, you can also jump from the top.
Here we go!
Not when you're in the wall, you can't. There we go.
Here we go!
You can jump on the Goomba and just even bigger jump, missing the water and the piranha plant altogether. Fire piranha plant, the Tui, whatever you want to call it. Now you'll notice hidden blocks and this pipe. So normally this is a big hole in the original. It's just a giant hole there. With a block that you can bump into that gives you a raccoon leaf or a mushroom, depending on what power level you're at. Now, for me, it was like, well, either you have to kill yourself if you go down this hole,
here we go.
or I made it because the water's rising. You can get out of the hole, and It's better than that than the player just being stuck down here. At least now they've got a way of getting back out. And that's kind of what the coins indicate. If you're in here.
Here we
Now,
go.
And even if you miss the first one,
Here we go.
I think when the water rises up, you can get the second one. I don't know, that'll happen. But hopefully people will realise that there are hidden pipes there, hidden blocks there. Hence why the coins have gaps between them. But yeah, as you can see, start of the level, you've got ramp, we've got slopes, we've got a few Goombas, we've got a piranha plant, we've got the water level rising up and down. And so that the player is aware that, okay, this level is based around the water level. We've got fast piranha plants and we've got some Goombas. So nothing too crazy, but starting to see, okay, I need to be a bit more aware of what's going on.
Here we go.
And then the level completely changes up now. Oh no, hang on, we've got another pipe, which again, plenty of time to get over this pipe. Platform there to jump, and then one massive slope. So I'm trying to give the player like, hey, this piranha's going to come up and down pretty quick, but you should have plenty of time to just get over him. And then this part. Now we have the main meat of the level. So this is quite a fast level. If you just play through this section again, you can do this bit pretty quick. Jumping up ramps is also very dangerous. It's never a good idea. You can see that a lot of this design, a lot of these ramps makes it much easier to avoid these piranhas, but it also looks cool. And I've definitely gone for a look in this level rather than maybe practicality, but I do like the fact that it is a fast level. You can slide down the slopes and jump, you can run down the slopes and jump. They give you plenty of time to see what's coming, plenty of time to avoid what the piranhas are doing. And you can see the water's never coming that high. Maybe the water shouldn't be quite as high as this, but there is a reason as to why it is that level. But yeah, then we get the main meat of the level, which is riding this platform. And this is very much like the original one. You are on a platform, there are blocks in the way, there are Koopa Troopers, and you can see down here that there are Cheep Cheeps at this point above the water level line. And the reason they're above the water level line is because I need them to jump up and down. If they weren't, and they were in the water, what would happen is that they would swim back and forth, which also can be useful. So if I was to put a Cheep Cheep here.
Here we go.
Wait, when? Oh, I was not expecting that to happen.
Here we go.
Ah. Let's just raise the water level a second. My example went a bit wrong.
Here we go.
So you see that one at the bottom there is just going to swim back and forth.
Here we go.
At that level. Let's see what happens if the water level.
Here we go.
It's kind of curious as to what happens when the water level goes down. It doesn't affect him, he just stays on that level. Okay, interesting. Now undo all that. Bye-bye, Cheep Cheep. But you can see, like, I want the Cheep Cheeps to jump, because you're on a platform, and as the water level rises, the Cheep Cheeps also get higher, so they got more of a chance of catching you. But the whole point is it's an obstacle course on a slow-moving platform, moving along while there are blocks in the way, Cheep Cheeps to deal with, and Koopa Troopers. Now, if you've played through this level, you will probably have a fire flower at this point, I believe. No, you won't.
Here we go.
First power up in it. So you'll at least be big by this section, but there are fire flowers in this. Now, if you do the lifts without the fire flowers, it's a lot more difficult. So there is one in that block there that I'm still on. Now you can use the Koopa Troopers as shells to knock out the enemies. You can do that. You can use them to kill off the Cheep Cheeps. You can jump on the Cheep Cheeps, or if you find the fire flower, you can take out the Cheep Cheeps that way. You can see how much higher they get, and they actually can nab you. So it's difficulty of this part is interesting. Because as soon as you add a power-up, you completely change the dynamic of what you're trying to build. So, through that section, if I'm small, I have to really think about every enemy. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't really want to go down the bottom, like, because I don't want to get attacked by the cheeps. Or that happening. You know, I have to think about the blocks are in my way. I have to think about Koopa Troopers in my way. I have to think about the cheeps jumping up and down. Now again, the nice thing is you've got plenty of time to see when the cheeps are coming, and when the water's down, they're not really much of a threat. But as soon as the water gets higher, it's like, oh, now I really have to think about that, while I'm also concentrating on the blocks. Oh, and there's another one. Oh, and I've taken one out with a shell, so it's not too bad, but you see that as you're small, it's like, oh, okay, I really have to think about this. When you're big, it's the same, but at least you can take a single hit, and you can usually take out one or two of the cheeps as you go. And then, yes, you can use the shells from the Koopa Troopers to take out the cheeps coming up and fire them off the walls and things. When you've got a fire flower when you do this, it's very different because now you don't have to worry about anything. Like, oh, Koopa Trooper? Yeah, sure, bye. Cheep. Alright, cool, yeah, kill him off as well. If I can hit him. But you suddenly got the ability to just insta-kill everything. I guess the cheeper just got him. This one, there we go, bye. And it completely changes how hard this level is. Right, bye-bye. And you can see now, like, I'm just like, I don't even have to think about anything, just the blocks. Cool. Whatever. Now, if I was to have a fire flower and then fall down, it also makes it easier because I can just take out all the cheeps. Now I made it so obviously the water rises and lowers so you can get out, but I also put this block here. Nothing in this block, but nice and easy you can get out of the water. So you never ever want to make it so that, because if I get rid of this block, there's no way for you to get out, and then you'd have to die at the end there, but I don't want that. So you can see the thought that I had to go into when making this section. It's like, okay, if I give the player a choice, if they find the power up, then cool, that makes it easier for them. But if I give them the fire flower before this section and they hold on to it, it suddenly becomes much easier because there's so much less you have to worry about, because you can one-shot literally every enemy. What I want them to do is to really think about the fact that, hey, this is a moving platform. I don't want to fall down because they're cheeps and they can be a pain and the water slows me down. I want to stay on this platform, so I have to think about the blocks. And then I have to think about the Koopa Troopers, which I could use as a weapon to take out the cheeps. But you're thinking about a lot more. Now, there is obviously a P-switch that is on this level as well. And I put the P-switch in because it's similar to the original. So that you can then use the P-switch and that takes out one of the obstacles, which is these blocks. So now, you don't have to worry about the blocks being in your way, because you can just walk through the blocks. So now you can just focus on where, oh, there's a shell. You can focus on this thing like, hey, okay, there's cheeps down there, and then you only have to worry about these last few blocks. Now normally I wouldn't have kicked the shell down there to kill off the cheeps, but you can basically think, okay, the fire flower lets me get rid of the enemies, the P-switch lets me get rid of the blocks. If you don't know that they're there, you're going to have a harder time. So the difficulty of this is kind of up and down all over the place. Because if you're playing for the level and you don't know, you've not bothered to check all the blocks and let's just say you're big, your entire time going along that platform is to go, hey, there's a Koopa Trooper, watch out for him. Hey, there's a cheep, watch out for him. Okay, I've got to jump over these blocks now. So you're constantly thinking about the obstacles in front of you. Whereas once you find the P-switch, the blocks no longer become an obstacle. You're like, okay, I don't have to worry about them for about 10 seconds. If you find the fire flower, you're like, I don't have to worry about enemies and I can focus on the blocks. If you find both, you're making your the level so much easier. So if I did it and I've got a fire flower, I'm just going to have one for the sake of having one. Bye. Just how much easier this is now. Bye. Oh, coin's great. Oh, Koopa Trooper. Bye. No, I don't even have to think about what I'm doing, which is nice. But on the other hand, if you are doing it and you don't have a power up or you've been hit, you're doing the entire thing. Small, it's like, okay, everything can, the blocks can knock me in the water, the Koopa Troopers can take me out, the Cheep Cheeps can take me out. You really do have to think about the level a lot more. And that's why this level is kind of a level of two halves, because you have this beginning section, which is very quick. There's not a huge amount of obstacles. You see like the hills, you can jump over the piranha plants. You know, they're fast-firing piranha plants, but they're not that threatening. And then you get another one, and again, it looks kind of cool. It's a fast level, and then you get to the meat of the level, which is, hey, I have to stay on this platform. Now, there is another way of doing it, and you don't have to use the platform at all. You should be able to run and jump through this. So if you don't want to have to deal with that, you can do this instead. And not fall down at the end. But you can see that you can literally just run across those blocks if you want to. Now this is interesting. This particular part here, depending on what point the water is at the end of this level, will change up what this Cheep Cheep's doing. If I spawn now, this Cheep Cheep jumps. But if I'm off the screen and like you saw then,
Here we
the
go.
water starts to rise. He's jumping then, but normally, so he's quite a threat depending on what point you get to the end of the level. So this is like a little bit of not RNG, because you wouldn't know that, but like, okay, cool. Oh, he's swimming, and then down he goes with the water, and then back up he goes. I think. Let's just stay down there now. So he stays at the same level, but that was an accidental thing. I never meant for that to happen. I always meant for this Cheep Cheep to be jumping at the end.
Here we go.
And yeah, he is a bit of a threat. But again, he's not. You've got plenty of time to spot him. But it's definitely a conscious decision that I had to think about when putting him there. And when I realised that it could be in the water or jumping at you, I kind of like that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's like not an Easter egg, but it's a cool mechanic that depending on how at what point you get to the level, it's one less thing to think about or one more thing to think about, and I kind of like that. I had a lot of fun making this level. Yes, it is pretty similar to the original, but because I had to use different mechanics to kind of get the same result, so I had to really think about, okay, I want, you know, the beginning of it to feel like I can't use quicksand, so okay, we used the water rising, and I want it to be quite speedy and have the slopes and all that. And then you get to the point with the part here with the platform, and I was like, okay, how do I make this interesting? Well, okay, I need to make it so that there are enough obstacles here that aren't frustrating, and luckily the platform goes at a nice speed, but enough obstacles here that make the player think. And then, you know, different people will approach it differently. If you find the fire flower, you're like, okay, I can defeat most of the enemies. If I find the P-switch as well, I can get all the coins. If you fall down the bottom, you can run quite a way without the water rising. So once the water's down, you can just pelt it, and just as long as you time your jumps, you can avoid the Cheep Cheeps, you can get out the other side. And then if you do it small, it's like, hey, this is actually quite challenging. I've got to be aware of what's going on. And then there's those people that are going to be like, you know what, these blocks here, I can probably just jump my way to the end. Like if I set off this platform,
Here we go.
I can just be like, you know, the platform's going to catch up eventually because it's going to keep moving to the right. But I can just do this. I can use the Koopa Troopers as well. And you'll see the platform will eventually come over here. I don't think he can get me, but I believe it's still moving. I could be wrong. Oh, maybe it's not. No, there it is. So you can see, like, there's options there. There's choice depending on what items you find and how confident you are in your jumping abilities. And it was to actually build this level and have to think about, hey, how do I emulate a level? How do I emulate a style of a level that I don't have the equipment for? I don't have quicksand, so I can't have that. So I have to use water. I can't use sections where, like in the original, there is just a pool of water. There is no rising level. It's not through the entire level. It's just this one section, which I obviously can't do. So I'm like, okay, so I know that I want the water in this. I want that section. So I have to think, okay, I'm going to use a water level now. Do I want the water level to rise and fall? What speed do I want it? How high do I want it? How much of an obstacle do I want people to realise this? And straight away,
Here we go.
you know, Goomba's coming down. The the water level rises, I think, at the slowest. I could be wrong, it might be at the medium speed, actually. But I'm already showing, even if you're... Say I'm not focusing on the water and I don't know about it. That's why the level gets so high up, because I'm like, oh, deal with these Goombas, I can see the water level rising, and I go, okay, the water's clearly an obstacle in this level. I need to be aware that the water is going to get in my way at some point. And I'm like, alright, okay, here we go. Luckily, I can, for the most part, just get through there quite quickly. So it's this idea of, if I want to replicate this level in a style that's fun, you know, remix it enough, have these mechanics come together, how can I best do that with what I've got? I don't have quicksand, but I've got water. I can't have water pools, but I have the ability to make the level rise and fall how I want it. And I can pretty much build a level that I want, that feels similar to that gives off that vibe in the way I want, and I feel like I achieved that, and this was one of those levels that I made and I actually was really happy with. If we critique it now and look at things that potentially I could change, maybe not having the steep slope and maybe just going for the gentler slopes here at the beginning, because the thing is, when you're jumping up a slope at an enemy, you have to be aware that your jump angle is different because you're going up. So you'll see now if I try and do this, so I do this. Look how different my arc is because the land is at a weird angle. So, always worth bearing in mind. Maybe don't need to have the red pipes. I kind of wanted the piranha. Like, that's the thing, is you can have in the original you have the piranhas coming in and out of the quicksand, which is awesome. Maybe didn't need the red pipes, could make them slower, but I wanted them to definitely pop up. I definitely want the people to go, oh, there's a piranha in that pipe. No matter where I land, you're gonna see it. You're going to see it. I don't think you can jump to the pipe. Yeah, you would die, basically. So I definitely wanted people to see it, hence the red pipes. Maybe putting them in a slightly slower one would be a better idea. But I was like, nope, I want people to see the piranhas now. They have to realise that they're an actual threat. And then going with this block thing, maybe rearranging the block patterns, maybe more enemies, potentially a couple more, maybe one more cheap anyway. You can see there's only 3, maybe having an extra one at the end there. But all in all, I feel like this particular section with the fact that you've got to think about being on the lift, avoiding the blocks, avoiding the Koopa Troopers and the cheeps, that's 4 things, and then obviously falling down. I don't think I need to adjust it too much. Just block layout would probably be the main change. But overall, I'm actually really happy with this level. I think it turned out really well. I think this is one of the ones that's got a fairly good amount of feedback since I've uploaded it. People seem to enjoy it, and I like that. Like, that's good to see, because for me this was a lot of fun to make. I love the ground where it's all the pipes, and you can see at the end here where I've essentially made it look like the pipes coming out at the bottom there. But I had a ton of fun making this level. This is one of the ones, along with 1.4, where it was like I spent a lot of time on it, a lot of playtesting, and for me that's a lot of fun. Getting people to playtest it, really find out, it's like, does this work? You know, are people having fun with this? And overall, I had a good experience. So I'm going to play through it one more time, like if I was just by walking and not grabbing any power-ups, just to give you an example. Like I've said before, this is how I make sure my levels are fun, is by just playing through the level, usually small, and usually just walking, just so that I can see, because obviously as someone who's played a lot of Mario games, I hold the run button down all the time, but that's not always going to be the case for someone, so I want to just be able to make sure, oh, just go from there as if I fell down. But I do this over and over and over just to make sure that playing the level is someone who's, you know, I can pick up Super Mario Bros. 3, 1, World, whatever, and pretty much be like, okay, this feels like putting on a pair of slippers and blitz my way through it. I want people to be able to always walk through these levels. Probably not the last few, like when I do levels inspired by Iceland and levels inspired by Pipeland, you're probably going to have to be a lot better than just walking. But for now, like, I try to test the levels that way to make sure that they're completable and people can have fun with them no matter what skill level they are. But that's probably going to do it for me today then, guys. Thank you very much for watching as always. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to subscribe and see more of this content as well as the other stuff we put out, then obviously hit that and keep you up to date with all those things. We've got a Twitter and a Facebook, which I'll put down below so you can see that. Comment as well if you've played this level, because the course code will be at the beginning and the end, or you want to put your own course codes, because I'm always interested in playing other people's levels. But yeah, obviously feedback is always welcome. I like to know what people think about if they think there are improvements, things they enjoyed, all that good stuff. But until next video, I'll see you then.